Power begins not with the throne, but with the ability to stand alone. The first fortress every ruler must defend is not built from stone or steel. It is the fortress of the mind. Most people are conquered long before their enemies ever arrive. They are conquered by praise, by fear, by desire, by their need to be understood. You cannot be controlled if you do not crave approval. You cannot be manipulated if you are not dependent on affection. Emotional danger begins where attachment ends. The world does not bow to kindness. It bows to leverage. And leverage belongs to those who understand the invisible economy of emotion, the silent currency that determines loyalty, betrayal, and control. To command others, you must first master your own reactions. For every outburst, every wound, every visible weakness is a negotiation lost before it begins. The calm man terrifies because his silence cannot be purchased. His emotions do not betray his strategy. He is unreadable, therefore ungovernable. The mistake of the naive is believing that people respond to reason. They do not. They respond to power, fear, and advantage disguised as reason. A ruler must learn to dress his intentions in the garments of virtue, while his mind remains fixed on survival. The appearance of emotion can serve as a tool, but its presence is a liability. If they can provoke you, they can predict you. If they can predict you, they can control you. To be emotionally dangerous is not to be cruel. It is to be immune, to look upon insult and remain still, to face betrayal and feel no collapse, to lose favor and not tremble for love. You must cultivate a kind of inner coldness, not of hatred, but of discipline. This is not the cold of death, but the cold of command. The kind that allows a surgeon to cut into flesh without trembling, knowing that sentimentality kills more often than steel. Most will never understand this truth. Control is not seized once it is maintained every moment through restraint. The weak lash out. The strong calculate. The weak demand recognition. The strong let silence do their speaking. Those who rule themselves need no throne, for they govern the world by the measure of their composure. You must learn to see emotions as weather. They come, they pass, they cannot dictate the voyage. Love, hatred, loyalty, these are forces of state, not moral luxuries. You may use them, but never belong to them. The ruler's heart is a mirror that reflects but never reveals. To show the world your suffering is to hand them your crown. Never let them know what moves you. Make every passion private, every pain strategic. For when others believe you feel nothing, they will fear that you can do anything. In politics, affection is often the first weapon of the ambitious. They flatter to enter your defenses. They sympathize to study your weakness. Learn to accept affection as you would accept tribute with gratitude, but never dependence. The art of ruling others begins with the art of not needing them. It is not cruelty, it is precision. The emotionally dangerous man does not suppress emotion. He weaponizes it. He knows when to reveal anger to frighten, when to display mercy to disarm, when to feign doubt to invite confession. Every emotion is a mask, and every mask is a negotiation. Never reveal the true face even to yourself, for the face of power must be shaped, not discovered. The masses believe control comes from dominance, but true control comes from detachment. The one who needs nothing cannot be coerced. The one who fears nothing cannot be overthrown. The one who expects nothing cannot be deceived. Power is the art of self-containment, to hold the fire without burning, to show warmth without melting. Understand this: human nature does not change. The same hands that applaud today will strangle tomorrow if it serves their interest. The same mouths that praise virtue will betray it for profit. You cannot reform mankind. You can only navigate it. Therefore, cease expecting loyalty where survival is the stronger instinct. Trust only where your interest and theirs are identical, and even then, verify. Every friendship in politics is conditional. Every alliance is temporary. Every gesture of unity conceals the scent of fear. To survive in such a world, one must become what the world cannot read. Become fog, not flame. Become the wind that bends but never breaks. Let them search for your weakness until they drown in their own confusion. Emotional danger is the art of invisible warfare. It is to appear composed when the foundations shake. It is to negotiate from a position of calm when the world screams chaos. It is to let others waste their strength, proving they are right, while you quietly build the structure that determines what right will mean. Fear is the most faithful servant of power. But to use fear wisely, one must not be enslaved by it. Those who fear losing what they have will never command what they desire. You must learn to lose deliberately, cleanly, without collapse. The ruler who cannot endure loss will be ruled by his possessions. Everything external must remain negotiable. Only the will must remain absolute. The world respects distance more than sincerity. Familiarity breeds not loyalty, but contempt. The closer they believe they are to you, the less they will obey. Maintain presence like a shadow, near enough to be feared, distant enough to be myth. Those who lead too visibly invite envy. Those who lead invisibly command destiny. To be emotionally dangerous is to become rhythm itself, unpredictable, silent, poised. Those who move by impulse are readable. Those who move by reason are slow. But those who move by timing are inevitable. Patience is not passivity, it is power in disguise. The greatest strategist never rushes, he simply allows others to exhaust themselves against his stillness. Most rulers fall not from defeat, but from indulgence. The applause, the luxury, the illusion of indispensability, these are the soft poisons of leadership. When pleasure governs the ruler, ruin governs the state. You must learn to savor austerity, to find strength in discomfort. Luxury dulls ambition, hardship sharpens instinct. In every empire, there are those who serve power and those who are served by it. Never confuse the two. The ruler uses emotion as currency, but never spends it without profit. When others seek sympathy, offer opportunity instead. When others seek apology, offer consequence. The world respects fairness, but only fears strength. Your silence must not be emptiness, it must be design. Your words must not be abundance, they must be precision. Speak less than you know, reveal less than you plan, promise less than you intend to give. Every word should conceal three. The language of power is always layered. What is said for the people, what is meant for the court, and what is reserved for the self. The emotionally dangerous man carries his solitude like a crown. He does not explain. He does not beg to be understood. He walks alone not because he despises others, but because he understands them too well. He knows that in every plea for connection lies a demand for control. To be free, one must abandon the illusion of being known. Those who master emotion command perception, and perception commands the world. The people do not need truth. They need stability. They do not need honesty. They need hope. They do not need freedom. They need the illusion of safety. Give them symbols, not explanations. Appear humane, rule with reason, but never let compassion cloud necessity. Morality is the costume of power. The same virtue that ennobles a private man can destroy a ruler. Mercy without balance becomes weakness. Honesty without discretion becomes vulnerability. Faith without realism becomes suicide. The ruler must treat morality as an instrument, not a master. Let others worship ideals. You must calculate outcomes. To survive is not shameful, it is sacred. To deceive for the sake of order is not corruption, it is preservation. The naive drown in moral purity. The wise swim through ambiguity. The state, like the sea, remains pure only by constant movement. Stagnation is decay, and sentimentality is its perfume. The emotionally dangerous man has accepted the final truth. Control is temporary, chaos eternal. Leadership is not dominion, it is choreography with fate. You do not command the storm, you ride its pattern. To rule is to endure uncertainty with discipline, to stand within the whirlwind and shape its direction. If you wish to rule others, begin by mastering your reflexes. Study your envy, your anger, your pride, not to erase them, but to harness them. Every passion, when disciplined, becomes a weapon. Every impulse, when understood, becomes a strategy. To deny human nature is foolish. To direct it, that is art. Let the sentimental drown in their innocence. Let the ambitious choke on their vanity. You become dangerous in your calm. Let them call it apathy. It is merely composure. Let them call it arrogance. It is merely focus. Let them call it cruelty. It is merely clarity. For when the time comes, and it always does, to choose between the appearance of virtue and the survival of your vision, choose survival. Because without power, virtue is only decoration. And without self-command, freedom is only a story told by the conquered. The emotionally dangerous are the last free souls in a world addicted to reaction. They do not chase approval. They do not seek peace. They embody it. And that quiet, ruthless composure is why nobody can control them. Fear is the oldest language of politics, and yet it is spoken most fluently by those who pretend not to understand it. The masses fear loss. The ruler fears disorder. The ambitious fear obscurity. And so, fear becomes the common tongue, the hidden grammar of every negotiation, every treaty, every love. Those who master it do not tremble before its presence. They guide its pulse like a surgeon guides a vein. The art is not to suppress fear, but to weaponize it, to know precisely when to let it breathe in the room and when to choke it with silence. It is easy to be brave when the crowd applauds. It is easy to seem composed when the world agrees. But the real ruler is forged in isolation when the crowd vanishes, when loyalty becomes myth, when even faith grows quiet. In that solitude, you meet your own weakness, and you either command it or it commands you. That moment when no one is watching determines who will kneel and who will reign. There is a secret rhythm to human obedience. It does not respond to laws, but to perception. The people do not follow the strongest, they follow the one who appears unshakable. The illusion of certainty is more powerful than truth itself. When a ruler hesitates, his enemies scent it before he speaks. When he stands unmoved, even the doubters kneel. Therefore, you must learn to act before you are ready, to project conviction before you are certain. Appear steady, and stability will follow you. Manipulation is merely the management of appearances. It is not deception for sport, but for necessity. Every state, every relationship, every system of order depends on illusions that protect it. If you expose reality too nakedly, people panic. The wise ruler understands that deception is mercy. People crave the comfort of meaning, even if it is false. The skill lies in crafting illusions that sustain peace rather than chaos. Truth without design destroys. Truth shaped by wisdom governs. To be emotionally dangerous, you must learn the discipline of ambiguity. Never explain too much. Never reveal too quickly. Let them guess your motives. Let them argue about your loyalties. Confusion is control. Mystery is authority. People fear what they cannot define. If they cannot read you, they cannot predict you. If they cannot predict you, they cannot prepare for you. The invisible hand moves freer than the visible crown. Loyalty is a currency spent by fools and hoarded by rulers. The wise man does not demand loyalty. He creates dependency. Those who depend on you cannot betray you without destroying themselves. It is better to make men need you than to make them love you. Love is unstable, easily seduced by sentiment, but need is eternal. As long as their fortune flows through your decisions, their loyalty will follow their hunger. Build systems that make your presence indispensable, and you will never need to beg for devotion. You must never underestimate the vanity of men. Even the noble crave recognition, even the loyal dream of glory. Every betrayal begins with an unfulfilled ego. Feed it when it serves you, starve it when it grows too proud. The ruler who understands vanity can move armies with a compliment and dismantle conspiracies with a glance. It is not enough to command. You must conduct the symphony of self-interest that plays behind every oath. There will come moments when you must choose between mercy and momentum. Remember this: mercy that weakens order is cruelty disguised. The people may praise you for your compassion, but they will curse you for the chaos it invites. Ruthlessness is not evil when it preserves stability. There is no virtue in a kindness that destroys a kingdom. The ruler who fears being hated will eventually be despised. The ruler who accepts hatred as the cost of order will be remembered as necessary. The heart must learn to be bilingual, fluent in compassion, fluent in cruelty. Only then can you rule without guilt. Emotion is a tool. Morality is a strategy. To survive in a corrupt world, one must learn to navigate filth without becoming it, The river that flows through the swamp remains pure because it moves. Stillness is the beginning of decay. Keep moving, keep adapting, keep flowing through necessity. Never trust a man who speaks of eternal loyalty. His devotion is only as deep as his convenience. Never trust a crowd that cheers too loudly. Their noise hides their doubt. The wise ruler listens not to words, but to patterns. Watch how people react under pressure. It reveals more than years of friendship. When fortune changes, masks fall. Those who praised you in triumph will flee you in disgrace. Therefore, depend not on affection, but on structure. Systems outlast sentiment. The emotionally dangerous man knows that time is his sharpest weapon. Impulse is the luxury of the weak. The strong wait. They wait for fatigue to break resolve, for pride to breed mistakes, for their enemies to collapse under their own impatience. The world belongs not to the brilliant, but to the patient. You can destroy an empire by doing nothing if you understand when nothing is enough. Power, in its purest form, is invisible. It does not announce itself. It permeates. It shapes decisions before they are made, thoughts before they are spoken. The visible ruler is only a symbol. The real ruler is the one who shapes the symbol's meaning. Emotional danger lies in that still authority, the kind that does not need validation, the kind that influences without gesture. To reach that level, you must no longer seek control, you must become it. There is a serenity to true power, a silence mistaken for humility. The loud man demands obedience, the calm man receives it. The loud man threatens, the calm man dictates. Noise is a disguise for insecurity. Calm is the sign of one who knows that the game is already rigged in his favor. When you reach that stillness, your very presence alters the atmosphere. People feel it before they understand it. That is the essence of command. Remember always, the world is not governed by justice, but by balance. The ruler's task is not to make men good, but to prevent them from destroying each other. Do not waste energy trying to purify humanity. Shape it, channel it, redirect it. Law exists not to change human nature, but to confine its excess. Freedom without structure is not liberty, it is anarchy in disguise. In exile, I learned that the greatest power is not to rule, but to remain unbroken when stripped of rule. When they remove your titles, your wealth, your allies, what remains? If you are still whole, still calm, still calculating, then you were never truly dethroned. Power taken from the outside can be rebuilt. Power lost within can never return. Guard your inner kingdom more fiercely than your public one. Every generation believes itself moral. Every empire calls itself just. But beneath the banners, the same machinery turns. Desire, fear, hunger, control. The names change. The laws evolve. The masks modernize, but the human engine remains identical. If you understand that, you will never be surprised, only prepared. The fool believes history progresses. The wise know it merely repeats in more sophisticated costume. Do not seek to be loved by the world, it is a faithless lover. Seek instead to be respected by necessity. Let men call you cold if it preserves order. Let them call you ruthless if it secures peace. The cries of the moral will fade. The stability you leave will speak for centuries. There is no virtue higher than endurance. Emotional danger is not rage. It is discipline so perfect it looks like indifference. It is the ability to move through betrayal without bitterness, through victory without arrogance, to act as if every triumph were temporary and every loss survivable, to never let external circumstance dictate internal stability. That is sovereignty, the only kind that cannot be dethroned. And so, remember this. Nobody can control you if you have mastered the battlefield within. When no flattery seduces you, no rejection wounds you, and no praise intoxicates you, you have become untouchable. The world will circle you, trying to provoke, to decode, to bind you through emotion. But you will stand unmoved, a mirror that reflects their chaos without absorbing it. That mirror is the throne, and the one who sits upon it rules. Power is a theater, and every player on its stage must learn to wear masks that fit the moment. The tragedy of most men is not that they are wicked, but that they believe their own performance. They forget that sincerity is a costume, not a constant. The wise ruler never believes his own illusion. He crafts it for others and observes from behind the curtain. He knows that control depends on perception, and perception depends on repetition. Say a thing often enough, and the world forgets it was ever a lie. Seduction is not confined to the bedchamber. It governs politics, religion, and every form of leadership. To lead is to seduce the imagination of others, to make them believe that your will is their desire. The people crave enchantment. They want to be deceived beautifully. Promise them meaning, and they will march into war. Promise them safety, and they will surrender their freedom. The wise man understands that persuasion is the most efficient form of violence. It leaves no blood, yet conquers the mind. Modern power no longer needs swords. It needs stories. Control the story, and you control the state. Every regime, every corporation, every ideology is sustained not by truth, but by narrative. The ruler is the editor of reality, deciding what is seen, what is remembered, and what is forgotten. Propaganda is not simply manipulation. It is the architecture of consensus. It teaches people how to dream within acceptable boundaries. The most dangerous tyrant is not the one who forbids speech, but the one who defines its meaning. You must understand, control in the modern world is no longer enforced by chains, but by desires. People are no longer ruled by fear alone. They are ruled by the pleasures that keep them obedient. Give them luxury, distraction, entertainment, and they will police themselves. The new ruler does not suppress rebellion. He renders it unthinkable. He floods the mind with trivialities until no room remains for defiance. Bread and spectacle, the ancient formula still works, refined through technology. The digital throne is invisible, but its power is absolute. To be emotionally dangerous in this age is to see through illusion and remain uncorrupted by it. It is to live among lies and still speak truth, not publicly, for that would be vanity, but internally, as a silent oath to clarity. The masses drown in stimulation. The ruler must cultivate emptiness. Stillness is rebellion in an age addicted to noise. When others react, you observe. When they chase attention, you accumulate influence. The world worships visibility, yet all true power remains unseen. Every society requires myths to survive. They are its oxygen. But he who can create or destroy myths controls the pulse of civilization. The people must believe in something larger than themselves: justice, nation, progress, God. The ruler manipulates these abstractions like a sculptor shaping clay. He does not destroy faith, he repurposes it. Faith is the engine, direction is the ruler's gift. It matters less what men believe, and more in whom they place that belief. Beware the moralist. He is often the most dangerous man in politics. He speaks of virtue to disguise ambition, of purity to conceal hunger. The ruler must learn to listen not to the words of righteousness, but to the calculations beneath them. Every sermon hides an agenda. Every saint hides a strategy. It is safer to trust a declared enemy than a moral savior, for the enemy reveals his desire openly, while the moralist disguises conquest as compassion. In the machinery of the state, emotion is the lubricant. Too much of it, and the gears seize. Too little, and the system fractures. The ruler must know when to feed hope and when to drain it. A desperate populace revolts. A contented populace stagnates. Balance them between fear and comfort, just enough to keep them moving in the direction you desire. Too much peace breeds decadence. Too much pressure breeds rebellion. The art of governance is to oscillate between reward and restraint, like a heartbeat that never flatlines. Every empire eventually decays not from external attack, but from internal indulgence. When power grows too comfortable, it forgets its origins in struggle. The court fills with flatterers, the treasury fills with parasites, and the ruler becomes a captive of his own comfort. Remember this: luxury is a form of anesthesia. It dulls awareness, numbs vigilance, and blinds you to betrayal. You must treat pleasure like poison, consume only enough to live, never enough to depend on it. In politics, gratitude is a myth. Help a man rise, and he will hate you for reminding him he once knelt. Save him, and he will resent you for his debt. People forgive betrayal sooner than they forgive dependency. Therefore, Give favors only as investments, never as charity. Ensure that every gift strengthens your position, not your reputation. It is better to be feared for your precision than loved for your generosity. Lovefades structure endures. Watch how people treat those they cannot benefit from. That is their true character. Observe how they behave in private triumph. That is their real allegiance. The wise ruler studies not words, but reactions. Human nature is predictable, yet everyone believes they are the exception. The fool sees diversity. The strategist sees pattern. You cannot reform the nature of man, but you can anticipate it. And anticipation, not virtue, is the foundation of stability. There are times when deception becomes mercy. The truth, too bluntly delivered, can shatter nations. The ruler must know how to reveal truth in doses that sustain order. Total transparency is chaos disguised as honesty. Secrecy is not corruption, it is protection. The people demand truth only until it frightens them. Then they beg for illusion again. To rule is to carry burdens others cannot bear. You must see what they must never see, and smile as if you do not. Betrayal is the tax of power. Expect it, plan for it, and it cannot destroy you. Every ally holds a knife. The question is only when they will use it. Forgiveness in politics is not moral, it is tactical. To forgive a traitor publicly can paralyze the ambitions of others. To punish too harshly can unite your enemies. The key is unpredictability. Justice must feel like lightning, not law. Striking where and when it serves example, not emotion. Emotionally dangerous people understand the necessity of masks. The ruler must appear human enough to be loved, yet distant enough to be feared. Reveal vulnerability only as performance, never as confession. When you show pain, let it serve a purpose. When you show joy, let it disarm suspicion. Everything visible must be theater. Everything true must remain internal. You are not required to be authentic, only effective. Do not mistake stillness for weakness. The ruler's calm is a trap. In stillness, information gathers. In silence, fear multiplies. The one who reacts first is already defeated. Let your enemies burn their strength trying to read your stillness. Patience is a knife that cuts without motion. Wait long enough, and every opponent will expose their own flaw. People crave leadership because they fear uncertainty. They long for someone to tell them what reality means. The ruler who defines reality rules absolutely. This is why power is no longer seized by violence, but by narrative. Control the interpretation of events, and you control history. It does not matter who acts, only who explains. The modern battlefield is psychological, and perception is its terrain. Learn to vanish behind your influence. The greatest power is exercised anonymously. Let others take credit. Let them shine in the light while you move in the shadows. When they fail, they will collapse under the weight of their own exposure. When they succeed, they will unknowingly advance your will. The hand unseen is the hand obeyed. A ruler must cultivate selective ignorance. To know everything is to drown in noise. Know what matters and remain blind to the rest. Power depends not on knowledge but on focus. The enemy of clarity is abundance. In a world addicted to information, discipline becomes the rarest intelligence. Every decision you make will be called immoral by someone. Do not seek purity, seek effectiveness. The virtue of a ruler is measured not by his intentions but by his endurance. Weak men moralize because they lack the strength to act. History does not absolve the innocent, it remembers the decisive. The dust of time buries moral debates, but preserves the names of those who shaped it. In moments of crisis, never appeal to compassion, appeal to necessity. Men may argue morality, but they obey survival. Frame every action as indispensable, and opposition collapses. People forgive anything that feels inevitable. To rule is to command inevitability, to make others believe there was never another choice. And when you feel the loneliness of command, remember, solitude is the crown's shadow. You cannot be both understood and obeyed. Those who seek empathy cannot lead. Leadership is not companionship, it is burden. It demands silence, distance, and sacrifice. You are not meant to be liked. You are meant to endure. Power does not announce itself through grand speeches or golden crowns. It reveals itself in the quiet ability to make others move without command. When you can shape their choices so they think they are acting freely, you have achieved mastery. The farmer who leads the ox with gentle pressure does not need to shout. The animal believes it has chosen its own path. The same applies to nations, to crowds, to subordinates. Influence that feels voluntary lasts longer than force that feels imposed. When you understand that principle, control becomes effortless. You can govern not by decree, but by architecture, by arranging incentives, by designing systems that reward obedience and punish rebellion invisibly. The wise ruler shapes desire itself. He does not need to chase loyalty, he manufactures it. If men fight for wealth, give them opportunities that depend on your favor. If they crave pride, give them titles that bind them to your reputation. Never forbid ambition. Redirect it. A river does not resist the mountain, it carves through it. In diplomacy, it is never words that win, it is perception. A concession made from strength inspires gratitude. The same concession made from weakness invites exploitation. Therefore, never appear pressured, even when cornered. A single display of hesitation in a negotiation can undo months of preparation. When others see you as desperate, they begin to imagine your defeat. When they see you as unbothered, they begin to doubt their own. Confidence, whether real or performed, is the first weapon in every political duel. Sometimes you must let your enemies believe they are winning. A man at ease is careless. A man who thinks victory is near will expose himself. There is more advantage in guiding the ambition of others than in crushing it. Let them build towers that cast long shadows, and then, when their pride blinds them, remove the foundation. The fall of the arrogant is rarely caused by their enemies. It is caused by the weight of their illusions. Observe how nations rise and decay. Empires do not collapse because their enemies are strong, but because they lose the discipline that made them powerful. The Romans forgot the sting of hunger. The Ottomans drowned in luxury. Modern states drown in information. The pattern never changes. Every victory plants the seed of its own undoing. To prevent decay, a ruler must renew struggle. Do not eliminate all threats. Keep one alive, if only to sharpen your people's vigilance. Peace is a beautiful lie that breeds rot. Every great ruler cultivates an enemy, real or imagined. Opposition unites the divided, gives purpose to the aimless, and distracts the envious. The existence of an adversary stabilizes the throne. When people have no foe to blame, they turn their resentment inward or upward. It is better to channel discontent than to silence it. The wise ruler feeds the fire of fear just enough to keep the machinery loyal. Power does not survive through purity. It survives through balance. Be soft enough to earn trust, hard enough to command it. If you are always merciful, your compassion becomes a weakness. If you are always severe, your authority becomes fragile. Alternate between kindness and cruelty, like the shifting of seasons. Predictable rulers invite rebellion. The unpredictable, even when mild, inspire awe. People obey not because they understand you, but because they cannot calculate you. Study betrayal, not as tragedy, but as routine. Every man who rises does so by betraying someone: a master, a friend, an ideal. Loyalty ends where ambition begins. Do not resent betrayal. Expect it. Use it as signal. It reveals who feels strong enough to act and who still waits for permission. Sometimes betrayal is useful. It shows you which chain must be broken to renew your order. The ruler who punishes every betrayal harshly kills initiative. The ruler who rewards betrayal selectively creates competition. Both are tools. The masses believe power is taken. The wise know it is transferred. People hand over control willingly when it spares them from responsibility. Offer them protection, and they will surrender freedom. Offer them comfort, and they will surrender conscience. The modern ruler need not command obedience. He must only make independence inconvenient. Control is not chains. It is dependency disguised as convenience. The more people rely on you, the more they worship their own captivity. In the arena of politics, morality is a vocabulary, not a compass. Words like justice, freedom, and peace are banners under which the ambitious march. Whoever defines those words controls the direction of the crowd. The people do not crave freedom, they crave the feeling of righteousness. Give them the illusion that their obedience is virtue, and they will follow with zeal. It is not enough to control actions, you must control justification. Power also demands theater. Rituals, ceremonies, symbols, these are not decorations, they are anchors for belief. The crown, the flag, the anthem, each one is a tool that translates authority into emotion. The wise ruler never mocks superstition, he refines it. The common man does not love institutions, he loves the stories that make them sacred. Strip a nation of its symbols, and its unity dissolves. Therefore, rule not just the body of the state, but its imagination. Consider how easily people confuse visibility with importance. They follow the loudest voice, not the wisest. Exploit this weakness. Allow the ambitious to make noise while you make policy. Let them exhaust their credibility in public, while you accumulate quiet influence in private. When scandal erupts, when chaos reigns, when tempers flare, you will be untouched, because no one remembers the invisible. The true ruler hides behind fools who love the spotlight. The art of timing separates statesmen from opportunists. Every decision has a season. To act too soon is as fatal as to act too late. Patience is the invisible gear that drives every victory. The impulsive chase moments. The wise create them. The world rewards those who appear spontaneous, but only when that spontaneity has been planned months in advance. Nothing should ever look deliberate, only inevitable. To rule effectively, one must understand weakness without despising it. The people's needs are predictable: security, recognition, meaning. Feed these in measured doses. Too much security breeds laziness. Too much recognition breeds vanity. Too much meaning breeds fanaticism. Keep the people uncertain enough to need leadership, but not desperate enough to revolt. The line between devotion and despair is thin, and the ruler walks it daily. Never waste energy trying to destroy chaos. Harness it. Disorder is not the enemy of power, stagnation is. Crises allow you to reshape structures without resistance. When the ground shakes, people cling to the hand that offers balance. Therefore, when fortune brings turmoil, do not lament, prepare. Chaos is merely the raw material from which new authority is forged. The man who fears disruption will always serve the one who masters it. It is often wiser to allow corruption than to expose it. Every system requires small injustices to prevent larger ones. The moralist who tries to purge all vice invites civil war. The realist trims, redirects, and manages it. Control does not mean purity, it means predictability. The key is not to eliminate vice, but to price it. Make corruption expensive enough that only the loyal can afford it. Thus, you reward both ambition and discretion. Power thrives where attention is scarce. Flood your opponents with too many choices, too much noise, too much detail. When they cannot see the pattern, they cannot resist it. Confusion is not chaos when you are the one orchestrating it. The greatest strategist does not need to win every battle. He needs to make the enemy fight on terrain of his choosing. No ruler lasts who forgets to fear the loyal. The devoted can become fanatics. The grateful can become jealous. The hand that applauds today may strike tomorrow in the name of purity. Therefore, rotate power constantly. Let no one grow comfortable. Reassign generals, change counselors, test alliances. Loyalty is strongest when it is periodically starved. There will come a day when fortune turns against you, when the tides that once carried your ship begin to retreat. Do not resist, adapt. Most rulers perish because they fight the rhythm of time. When fortune changes, the wise change with it. To cling to yesterday's strategy is to drown in tomorrow's tide. There is no eternal method, only eternal vigilance. The emotionally dangerous ruler does not fear endings. He sees them as transitions. Every downfall, every exile, every betrayal is merely a shift in terrain. The field changes. The game continues. What matters is not position, but presence, the ability to remain necessary in every circumstance. A man who cannot be erased, even in defeat, is never truly defeated. Emotional danger is the quiet crown of absolute independence. It is the moment when every external force, approval, rejection, love, hatred, success, and ruin, loses its power to direct you. To be emotionally dangerous is to possess an interior monarchy, to govern yourself with the same discipline a ruler governs a state. It is not rebellion, it is mastery. The one who has achieved this inner dominion cannot be persuaded through flattery, cannot be threatened through loss, cannot be ruled through desire. His will moves freely through the shifting illusions of the world, untouched by the tides that drown lesser men. The emotionally dangerous man has severed the invisible chains that govern the many, the fear of exclusion, the hunger for validation, the panic of being forgotten. He moves through the world with a calm that unsettles, because it cannot be purchased. His silence exposes dependency in others. His detachment reveals their servitude. He does not fight for attention, for he understands that attention is a form of debt. He does not seek to be right, for he knows that truth is not decided by consensus. His stability becomes a kind of quiet tyranny. Those who cannot shake him begin to orbit him. Emotional danger is not indifference. It is the strategic refusal to be destabilized. It is the power to remain composed in the presence of chaos, to watch manipulation unfold and feel no compulsion to correct it. When the world pulls on your emotions, it seeks to install commands within you. The moment you react, you surrender authorship of your own behavior. The emotionally dangerous man listens but does not absorb. He sees but does not identify. He acts, but never in reaction. His will originates from within, not from the noise that surrounds him. Emotional danger is a form of sovereignty. Every state that endures must first achieve this condition: the ability to remain centered when threatened, to appear calm when encircled. The same is true for the individual. When you are emotionally dangerous, no argument can recruit you, no ideology can seduce you, no insult can define you. You do not collapse beneath the weight of opinion. You are not guided by applause or opposition. You move from clarity, not from noise. You are ruled only by what you have verified through experience, not by what others wish to impose. To be emotionally dangerous is to see through illusion and continue walking without bitterness. You understand that affection can be transactional, loyalty conditional, virtue situational, and yet you do not retreat into cynicism. You simply cease to be naive. You interact with the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. Your composure is not arrogance, it is armor. The emotionally dangerous man no longer needs to announce his strength because it is not performance, it is equilibrium. Emotional danger transforms relationships. You no longer cling, you choose. You no longer chase, you observe. The manipulative lose power over you because their tools no longer reach your core. You become the one variable they cannot calculate. When they expect reaction, you give none. When they seek validation, you offer silence. Your calm becomes resistance. Your restraint becomes dominance. Without lifting a weapon, you alter the balance of every interaction because you refuse to participate in emotional games. To be emotionally dangerous is to become immune to the economics of control. The world trades in emotion, outrage, envy, guilt, hope. These are currencies used to purchase obedience. When you no longer trade in them, you step outside the system. You cannot be bought through affection, bribed through fear, or trapped through shame. You operate from an inner economy measured, self-sustaining, untouchable. And from that position, you begin to rule not through demand, but through presence. True danger lies not in violence, but in composure. The one who remains calm while others panic possesses a kind of divine authority. The emotionally dangerous man can walk into a storm and move as if nothing has changed. It is not bravado. It is conviction so deep that circumstance bends around it. This is not control through aggression. It is control through gravity. The world yields to the unmoved because movement is its weakness. When you reach this level of stillness, you no longer seek to dominate. Domination becomes unnecessary. Others adjust to your stability because it is the only constant in their chaos. You become the silent center around which noise organizes itself. You do not persuade. You alter the rhythm of the environment simply by existing. That is the ultimate expression of power when your state of being reshapes the world without effort. Emotional danger also carries a cost. It isolates. The one who cannot be controlled cannot belong. The one who cannot be manipulated cannot be loved in the ordinary sense, for most affection depends on leverage. But solitude is the proper price of sovereignty. Better to stand alone in mastery than surrounded in dependence. Those who require constant reassurance become servants to their own insecurity. The emotionally dangerous man is free precisely because he no longer fears the silence that imprisons others. To reach this state, you must train your emotions as a ruler trains his army with order, precision, and purpose. Anger must respond to strategy, not to insult. Desire must serve direction, not distraction. Fear must protect vision, not prevent movement. When each emotion serves command rather than chaos, you have achieved inner discipline. And from that discipline emerges something the world cannot replicate: quiet, steady authority. Emotional danger is not about building walls. It is about removing handles. There is nothing to grab, nothing to pull, nothing to twist. You become smooth, ungraspable. Others may attempt to provoke, to lure, to praise, to wound, yet their attempts slide off the surface of your mind. You are not detached from life. You are simply immune to manipulation. That is why the emotionally dangerous man moves differently. His gestures are deliberate. His silences are strategic. His energy cannot be drained by the trivial. He chooses where to engage, and his choice carries weight because it is rare. In the end, emotional danger is not rebellion against power. It is its perfection. It is the state in which the ruler no longer requires followers because his dominion is complete within himself. To be emotionally dangerous is to no longer chase freedom, but to embody it. The world bends towards such a man not because he demands obedience, but because he represents something ungovernable. And in a world built on control, nothing is more feared or more revered than the man who cannot be controlled. Power, in the end, is not conquest over others, but command over necessity. Every ruler, no matter how cunning, eventually confronts the limits of fortune. Those who depend on luck are ruled by its turning. Those who prepare for its cruelty survive its blows. The emotionally dangerous man accepts that fortune is a wild river, sometimes flooding with opportunity, sometimes retreating into drought. He does not curse its rhythm. He builds his foundations above its reach. That is the essence of strategy, not to defy chaos, but to remain unbroken within it. The world will always test composure. It will tempt you with admiration and threaten you with ruin. The wise do not resist these fluctuations. They study them as a general studies terrain. They know that advantage changes with time and that victory belongs not to the strongest, but to the most adaptable. The man who expects permanence in power is already defeated. The man who adjusts to the weather of fate governs beyond it. The ruler's greatest burden is foresight, to see what others will deny until it is too late. He must act before necessity becomes visible. This demands coldness, not of the heart, but of judgment. Compassion must yield to proportion. Sentiment must kneel before consequence. When the state trembles, hesitation is betrayal. A single act of timidity in crisis invites 100 opportunists to the throne. The wise ruler acts as if every moment of peace were a rehearsal for war. Emotional danger is inseparable from solitude. The higher one climbs, the thinner the air becomes. Companionship weakens at altitude. Advice grows dishonest in proximity to power. The ruler must therefore learn to find clarity in isolation. He must become his own counsel, his own tribunal. Trust no chorus that sings too sweetly. Music often hides intention. It is better to hear the silence of suspicion than the applause of deception. One must also know how to withdraw. Every power has its season, and wisdom lies in the art of retreat. To cling to the throne beyond your time is to invite disgrace. Leave while your shadow still commands respect. The man who exits with control of his legend conquers death itself. For the memory of strength often governs longer than strength itself. Let others decay in the pursuit of immortality. You will outlast them by accepting mortality with elegance. Remember that legacy is a kind of propaganda for eternity. It is not truth that endures, but narrative. Men will not remember your motives, only your results. Therefore, shape your history before others write it. Make even your defeats appear deliberate. Your exiles seem chosen. Your silences resemble design. Posterity forgives cruelty, but it never forgives weakness. It honors those who appear inevitable, even when they are gone. To be emotionally dangerous is to live as though history is watching every gesture. You must think in centuries, not moments. The ruler's duty is not to be understood by his time, but to survive it. Morality is the costume of the present. Necessity is the lore of the future. Let others measure virtue by comfort. You must measure it by endurance. When the end approaches and the mask of power falls, only one question remains. Did you command yourself, or were you commanded by your passions? If you ruled yourself with discipline, then no throne can take that crown. You have mastered the only kingdom that matters, the invisible empire within. And that is where true dominion begins, where fear loses its reach, and where no man, no fortune, and no fate can ever control you.